So, LaYinka, touching upon something that you said there's a distinction, right, between feeling sad and being depressed. Okay. Sumayah, what are your feelings about sisters maybe kind of feeling sad, but they're actually not going through depression?
I think it's probably hard to label from the outside. I mean, every person knows what they're going through, but you know, and I don't want to sound judgmental saying this like I'm putting someone down, but I think that sometimes there's a tendency to use that label of being depressed or that it's that serious, and it gives them a ticket out of having to do anything about it or show up. Or
that's quite something. Going to open up a can of worms there.
But you know, she's actually, like, I recently had a workshop and a sister had a massive realization that she had been using her lows as a crutch, as a way to get affection and attention from her husband. Mm-hmm. She actually left that workshop saying, so what will happen now then? What will happen now that I've owned this, now that I know this, and I can actually do something about it? Does that mean I'm going to get less affection from my husband? And that was just like massive, because now she can recognize what she's doing. And I'm not saying that people are making themselves sad for a reason, but there comes a point.
The reality is that some actually do.
Yeah, some wallow in it. Some
it's their identity.
Revel in what it brings them,
yeah.
because it gives them something. For those sisters that it applies to, there is a result that it gets them. Maybe it's extra help around the house. Maybe it's the children are being extra quiet now that they know mommy is down. You know, whatever it may be.
Maybe it's just familiar.
Yeah.
From childhood.
Yeah. Maybe it's so kind of, and this is going to sound really warped, but maybe it's so comfortable because it is so familiar.
Yeah. And anything else, just like that sister, anything else is like, my God, what is actually going to happen now? Now that I've owned it, I can claim it, I can see it, and I know I can actually do something about it. What is going to happen? And you know, she actually had the conversation with her husband. She actually said to him, like, this is what happens. I basically thrive off your affection when you come home and you find the house a mess. Wow. He comes home, he starts cleaning, puts the kids to bed. He goes into and she gets taken care of. It's like, I'm not going to stop taking care of you just because.
But does she feel that barring that she won't?
What, that she won't what?
If she's well, that she won't get the support?
She feels that's, yeah.
Okay.
And that was the revelation, that it got her that. And it's been interesting that she's owned it. And I love that, you know, she's like, she's claimed it, she's owned it, she's facing it, she's taking action, she's doing something about it. There are sisters who are in the same boat, you know, and we're coming from the place of love, you know, the place of understanding and also appreciating that there's a good intention here.
Yeah. Yes.
We get that there's a good intention, but
the
the way you're going about it, you know, is that extra long post on Facebook where you're just, I don't know, ranting. Like, is it going to get you what you want? And half the time, do you know what? Most people don't even know what they want.
Wow. So we kind of started the episode by talking about real depression.
Yeah.
And we're now kind of talking about sisters inflicting depression on themselves. I didn't think it would go to that.
Holding on to it.
Should I tell you, like, there's something that I teach in one of my courses that I have not ever said in public.
Okay.
Because
here we go. Let me grab my mug.
Because of the fact that it's so controversial. And I remember saying it to the sisters on one of my courses this year, and I said, I've never said this, and I would only say it in a safe space.
Okay, I'm sure the viewers and us are eager for you
we've got to be real. Depression is a state. We create states. How are we creating our depression then? And this is not the clinical depression.
Right. I'm glad that you
this is not the imbalance of chemicals and
I'm
stuff.
glad that you made that distinction.
Because you don't have control over that. right? If you need to take your medication, take your medication so that you're in balance. We're not talking about that because that you don't, like, Allah has gifted you with that for a reason, right? Yeah. We're talking about the thoughts, the patterns that we have internally that creates the state that leads to our external behavior. And I remember some sisters were like, oh, like, you went there. I was like, that's why I don't say it publicly, because there is that. And I know people are going to be watching this and like, that
LaYinka, how dare you? Yeah.
The thing is that let's be real. The reality is that we have a choice. We always have a choice. We can choose to wake up in the morning and say, you know, that happened yesterday, I'm going to carry that with me into today. We have that choice. Or we can make the decision that, you know what, that was a really rubbish day, but today I choose to live differently. I choose to engage with my day differently. So I understand what you're saying, and I actually agree with you. You know, I agree with you on this. I do believe that we sometimes create our own victim-led life.
Yeah.
Right? And then we're kind of quick to say, oh no, but I'm depressed. Yeah. It's depression.
It's external, it's not me.
It's my depression that is doing it to me.
Doing it to me. When actually, you know, if it's not clinical depression.
Yes, and that is a massive distinction.
Absolutely, that needs to be made. Yeah. So if, you know, kind of thinking about this now, if there are women out there who kind of are joining us in keeping it real and being vulnerably honest, and they are creating a life that's dark, that's limiting, what can they do to make a different choice, to live a different life? Now, Sumayah, I know that you're a doer.
Yes, I'm a doer, but I really, on a personal level, I relate to what you're saying in the sense that there are days where I wake up and feel like, just like you said, something happened yesterday or last night, and in the next day, I have a learned behavior. I have the pattern that after I have a rough day, the next day, I can't function. It takes me about 24 hours to recover to my normal state, and then the day after, I can probably get back into my routine. So like there's a lag time. And I am losing time, like I am losing days, and sometimes if it's really bad, it could be longer because reacting to what happens. And I'm trying to untrain myself, you know, the idea of showing up means showing up when you feel like it and when you don't. So I have a routine I'm supposed to show up for in order to make progress and do all these things, and it's unlearning the wallowing. It's unlearning. This is like fighting for your life. It's so hard, but it's like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna sit down and follow through on what I'm supposed to follow through for, and I'm not gonna allow this to be an excuse to shut down and just,
you know what I hear?
Pass the buck.
Awareness,
yeah.
I think something that I think helps with this is taking it out of yourself and really lifting it up to Allah. You know, when we keep it inside, yeah? And that's what, you know, just using your example. So you had a really bad day, wake up the following morning, and it's still in there. But had you either the night before taken it out of yourself by speaking to your Lord about it, sincerely speaking to your Lord about it, or the morning after, taking it out of you and lifting it to Him, that's it now. It's no longer inside you, you've released. And I think we make this unconscious decision to keep it inside.
Yeah, I'm trying to fight with it still there.
And that's what I was saying about
it's
awareness.
Harder. Yeah.
Because you need to have that level of awareness first before you can do that. Yeah. Right? You need to say, hey,
this is happening.
You are a hot mess, sort it out.
Yeah.
Like, and making that choice, you know, knowing that you have a choice. You have a choice whether you're going to wallow in from yesterday or you're going to, like you said, make change. No one can do it for you.
And you know what happens? I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I find that sisters will continue with this pattern for months and sometimes years, right? Until something really bad happens. where the pain is so excruciating that they say, no more. But do we need to get to that point in order to make a different choice? I would argue no, because too much pain, too much damage is done.
But there's some people that's how they're motivated, right? They're not motivated until it gets bad enough.
Yes.
And then they'll move. Then they'll actually see for real.
Even that motivation can change, right? And I would say it's better that they change.
Take the
so wow.
Yeah, it's like learning how to surf, you know that the ups and downs are going to come. And when you look back at the pattern, if you journal or look back at your plan, you think, I just see this happening over and am I going to keep doing this?
Journaling again and again.
Journaling is
powerful. You can see patterns.
Yeah, I love it. I love going into my journal and what?
Some sisters though may not like writing, but I guess what we're saying is that take the time out to reflect, right? What am I doing repeatedly that's producing the same pattern of behavior? What can I do differently to create the life that I want? Right?
And it's less about what I'm doing externally. It's more about what am I doing internally? What are the patterns inside? Because you can start recognizing there's that thought again. There's that, there's that. And once you start recognizing those patterns, you can interrupt it and break it. I think it's when we just allow it, because why? It's comfortable. It's what we know. It's just how I am, right? But when you can break it, especially the internal, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think maybe an initial step, like you said, is awareness. And I think if we can attach a tangible action to awareness, I think for any sisters that may be going through what we're describing, they'll be able to actually take a practical step. For me, something that came to mind is just actually telling someone. Just telling someone that this is what's happening, and I think that step can then open you up to what's going on and what you can do differently. I don't know if you have any other suggestions.
I think the suggestions are solid.
Yeah, I second that. Yeah, no, I think so. You can kind of hear it outside of your own mind. It puts it in perspective. It cuts it down to size. You can look at it more externally than just having it wreak havoc.
Just get it out, like you said, because you see it, hear it, and feel it actually really differently than when it's all.
And something else that's come to mind actually, if you don't want to do it for yourself, because some sisters, they don't love themselves enough to say.
We gotta talk about that.
Okay, hold on.
We gotta talk about that.
They don't love themselves enough to want to heal themselves. So something that just came to mind as I was listening to you is, okay, you don't want to do it for yourself, then do it for the little ones, or even the big ones, who are picking up this pattern of yours.
That was my truth. That's why I went on my journey, because of my kids. I wanted them, when I die, for them to have good memories of me, And I looked at what I was doing and they're going to be like, she just used to shout, she just used to this, she used to that. And it's like, nah, we can't go out like that, LaYinka. We can't have that as what they're going to say about you. It's like, you need to fix yourself.
And I'm sure in addition to that, you didn't want them to do what what they were witnessing you do with yourself. You wanted better. So we've got to find our big enough reason why to heal ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes that will be, some people will have that level of self-love and self-respect to say, you know what, I'm going to do this for me. And if we don't have that, sometimes it's the children. And sometimes it's just acknowledging that, you know what, my Lord loves me. my Lord wants good for me, and because of that, I'm going to want good for me too. Maybe that's going to be a big enough reason why. So what have we said? We've said awareness, take it out of yourself, right? Speak to someone, be honest, is it real depression? Yeah. Are you causing your own depression? So being aware, being honest, and find your big enough reason why to change your story. And the thing is, we have the power to do so.
And embrace the fact that we have the power to do so.
Absolutely.
Because some people still disempower themselves with the thoughts that this is just how I am.
And this is how it will be.
Yeah.
And I always say, we do not have a Lord. We do not have a Lord. I'm going to repeat it again. We do not have a Lord that wants us to remain stuck. We have a merciful, generous, kind, loving Lord who wants us to succeed and do well. So if the Lord of the world, if the King of Kings wants that for us, then surely...
Who are we? Yeah, to get in the way.
Let's want that for us too.
Wow. Preach. Okay, so like that's heard. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think self-love is something we definitely need to speak about.
Yep. Yes. Note that down.
Yeah. So that wraps up our very interesting, honest tea talk on surviving depression. Very cheesy. Okay, thank you, ladies.
This is the journey, but we weren't taught. We weren't necessarily taught how having self-worth manifests.
That's a bit of a deep way of starting this episode, but that's true. It starts with us.
We are worthy to be here. Allah said kun, and we are here. That Allah uttered that word for us. Love must flow. Love must flow.
Hey, man,